What's up, people? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tevi and this is Invest with T-Claus. In today's video, we're going to be talking about investing in general and not so much a single particular stock. With the year coming to a close, I know that many of us are reflecting and thinking about our goals for next year. And so I thought that now would be the perfect time to kind of sit back and try to put into perspective why you should be investing. And if you already are, help reaffirm why you want to continue and stay motivated. So in this video, we'll talk through active versus passive income. I'll walk you through 3 different scenarios where we have one person that's not investing and strictly saving money. Person number 2 is passively investing. And person number 3 is going the active route on their investment journey. And finally, we'll wrap it up with answering the question of which is better, active income or passive income. Let's get into the video. Let's talk active income. Well, active income is income that you work for, right? So think of your day job. You get up every day, you go in, you put in your 8 hours. Doesn't really matter if you're working for yourself or somebody else. Ultimately, you're trading your free time in order to earn income. And what's nice about active income is that it has a fairly low barrier of entry, meaning that really all you have to do is show up and put in work. And if you do that, you get a paycheck. Also, over time, you can expect to grow it at a steady pace through raises or promotions. And it's a steady stream of revenue that you can count on, right? So think of this as your offensive play. And what many of us do is that we focus our effort on making that offensive play as strong as we can possibly make it. The problem with that is, oh, you know that's going to leave a mark. But that right there, my friends, that's life. That's life coming at you when you expect it the least and destabilizing your active income. And that can be medical bills, and worse, that could be you losing your job. So that's really where passive income comes in, right? So passive income is going to be income that you earn from your investments. That could be real estate, or it could be stocks, or a combination of both. And the idea here is that if you're able to generate enough passive income, then you could potentially retire early, but more importantly, it puts you out of harm's way if something was to happen to your steady stream of income that you generate through active incomes. Okay, so in this next segment, we're going to switch location and I'm going to bring up the spreadsheet on the screen here and I'll walk you through the 3 examples that we talked about. All right, people, here we are, new location. Might be a little echoey, but I needed to jump on the laptop. So I'll bring up the spreadsheet on the screen and we'll walk through these examples here. Okay, so here we are with Steve, Nancy, and Tina. They each make $40,000 a year. And the reason for picking $40,000 is because the median household income in the US is around $68,000. So not inconceivable that each one of them could be making $40,000. So starting with Steve, Steve is going to be the super saver of the group. He doesn't have any investments, doesn't want to be bothered with trying to invest, but instead is committing himself to saving 20% of his salary every year starting in 2020 for the next 20 years. So again, keep in mind here that many people are not able to do this, but again, this is why Steve is the super saver. Okay, so 20%, $8,000 a year, going out 10 years all the way to 2030, that brings you up to $88,000. Pretty good. But then extend that out further over the next 20 years to 2040, and now you're at $168,000. So this is what super saving can do for you. Oh, I should have mentioned that everybody was 35 at the start of this example, and now they're retiring at 55 years old. Their income has gone up to $50,000, but we're not going to factor that into the calculations here. The $50,000 is used for the wealth target calculation. So 55 years old times 50,000 divided by 10 gives you the 275K. But they were able to achieve, Steve was able to achieve $168,000. Now keep in mind that each one of these scenarios is likely going to have some upside to it, but just really wanted to keep it basics to illustrate the point. Straight up saving for 20 years, pretty good amount saved by Steve here, but does not get him to his target of 275K. Okay, now let's move on to Nancy. Next up, we have Nancy. Nancy is a passive investor. She's going to be going after ETFs and mutual funds as her means of investing, and she's expecting a 10% compound annual growth rate for her investment. Now, she's also going to have $8,000, similar to Steve, as her 20% that she's putting in, but she can only commit to another $4,000 every year beyond that point. And the $4,000 is going to be a combination of savings that she has plus her tax return every year. So you can see there that in 2021, then it brings her total to 12,800. Fast forward to 2030, and now she's at 84,500, just shy of the 88,000 that Steve was able to save. But this is where it gets interesting. Look, in 2031, she has now passed what Steve makes, has saved. And if you take that all the way to 2040, look at that. Look at that right there. That's $282,000 and some change. That's just about double what Steve has. And she only put in $88,000. So you can see in this example here that even though Nancy started with the same amount but wasn't contributing as much as Steve over time, because she's capitalizing on the interest rate year over year, she's able to catch up and pass Steve for a double up on the investment with half of the amount put in ultimately. So secret sauce here is the compound annual growth rate, and she just increased her defensive play. So passive income is your defensive play. All right, last but not least, we have Tina. Tina is going to be our active investor of the group. She's deciding that she's going to put her money into the stock market, and she's expecting a 25% compound annual growth rate. This is what she expects to make year over year. But unlike the other two, she doesn't have as much money up front, right? So she can only put in $500 coming out of 2020. And unlike Steve and Nancy, she can only commit to $2,000 every year after that. That's going to be a combination of her tax return and a little bit that she can save every month for a $2,000 yearly contribution. So less money up front, $500, and less money being contributed every year after that. Okay, so then $2,000 yearly contribution. So what happens when we get to 2030? Well, look at that. She's only about $10,000 behind Nancy and Steve. But then, if we go to 2032, she's past them. She's at 115,000 and some change compared to where the other two are. Let's take it a step further and go out to 2040. She has now accumulated $729,000 and some change by only contributing $40,500, which is half of what Nancy put in, but yet her returns are double that amount. And let's not even talk about how far she is ahead of Steve. So why did I pick 25%? Well, that's because 25% is actually not that hard to achieve. If you think about a company like Apple, for example, between 2015 and now, they've actually returned for their investors somewhere between 30 to 40% year over year. So had you gone with them, you would have made those gains just like Tina. Beyond that, now's probably a good time to mention that I'm working on a list of my top 10 picks for 2021. So if you're looking to either start your portfolio or diversify a little bit more, these 10 beyond the 4 that I've mentioned as my cornerstone stocks should help you do that. I expect that they will return more than 25% over the next year and beyond. But again, not a financial advisor, so when I do present them to you, make sure that you do your due diligence, research them, cross-reference, and then invest if you find that the list is what you want. In this next section here, we're going to play with the numbers a little bit just to really drive that point home, right? What does compound annual growth rate can really do for you? And what happens when your initial investment or your yearly contribution goes up substantially? All right, so back to the spreadsheet. I know that some of you have a pretty strong offensive play. So let's say that we go into your savings and you take part of that, call it $10,000, and plug it into the model here. We'll stick with our 25% compound annual growth rate, and we're actually not going to increase the yearly contribution. We'll stick with the $2,000. If you take that and you go out to 2030, you can see that we're now at $159,000. take it all the way to 2040, that's $1.5 million. And that's only with a total investment of $50,000. Pretty crazy. Okay, so for this next one, let's keep the initial contribution the same, $10,000. But we're going to increase your yearly contribution to $5,000, right? Because some of you, again, can do more between taxes, bonuses, and whatever else that you have going on. 5K is possible. Notice what happens. 2030, you're at $259,000. And if you go all the way to 2040, that's $2.5 million. This last one here is going to be our moonshot. We're going to increase our yearly rate of return to 50%. Instead of cashing out our gains, let's say that we take everything we made in 2020 plus whatever we saved up for a new car, for example, and let's say that's $40,000. We're actually going to reduce our contribution moving forward to $2,000. Let's see what happens. So let's jump to 2030 and you can see $2.5 million. But now, wait for it, 2040, $146 million.
And this is to go even further beyond!
That has to be one of the most epic transformations in the Dragon Ball Z series. And as we watch our boy Goku here finish his ascension to Super Saiyan 3, I want you to realize that every epic transformation does take time. You're going to have to stay consistent and committed to your investment journey. And it's that consistency that over time will help you achieve those returns that frankly look unreal. So now let's try to answer the question of which is more important. Is it active income or is it passive income? And the reality is you need them both. They serve different purposes. Active income is your offensive play. The stronger it is, the more you can contribute from the start and year over year, the quicker you can get to where you want to be. Your passive income is going to be your defensive play. And the stronger you can make that year over year, the less vulnerable you become. And the more free time you'll get back to do the things that you want to be doing. And this is how people are able to retire early, like way early, and still generate income by little to no effort. All right, people, this will do it for today's video. I hope that you found the content insightful. And if you did, you know what to do. This Sunday, we'll go over Neo and why I believe that it is worth your consideration. And beyond that, mid next week, we'll go over my top 10 picks for 2021 and why I believe that these opportunities can and will make your portfolio stronger for not just 2021, but also for the next few years to come. With that in mind, stay humble, hustle hard, and I'll see you in the next one.